Alright, we'll kick off the video with Caverns of Mars Recharged, which is an arcade shooter and a reboot of a classic from the Atari days. It brings modern enhancements to a game that many either love or have never heard of. If you did play the original, there is enough here to warrant revisiting the game, and they've added in local co-op as well. And of course, if you're new to the game, it's going to feel fresh and enjoyable, as this is a solid action-filled shooter with a good amount of content on offer. You have multiple game modes, destructible environments, and plenty of upgrades to find throughout the different caverns that you'll be exploring. And the best part, right now you can pick up Caverns of Mars Recharged for just $4.99, marked down to half price and under $5 for the first time, with the deal ending on the 20th, and you'll need about 550 megabytes for the install. Layers of Fear 2 is a single-player survival horror game that puts the player in the center of the action with a well-written story and incredible atmosphere that truly gives the player an unsettling feeling throughout the roughly 5 to 10 hours that you'll be spending with it. Now, of course, these types of games tend to rely a little too heavily on cheap jump scares, but the devs nailed it with this one. They definitely know how to build up tension slowly for a proper payoff. The game can be a bit repetitive and the puzzles aren't always the best, so I would definitely avoid it at full price, but luckily it's currently on sale for just $4.49, marked down nearly 90%, and the deal ends on the 24th, but you'll need a little under 6 gigs for the download. Up next we have the Lightbringer, which is a single-player puzzle platformer with a download around 3.4 gigs, and it has a main story that will last around 10 hours or so to wrap up. Now, if you do enjoy a good 3D platformer, this is a solid option for fans looking for a challenge, as well as the more casual gamers that just want to enjoy the story mode. The combat is a lot of fun, plus the levels are packed with puzzles, secrets, collectibles, and more to find. Right now it's on sale for just $3.74, marked down 75% to a brand new low, and the deal ends on the 14th. Ponpu is maybe one of the cooler games on sale this week. It has a download around 1.7 gigs and offers a unique gaming experience for both single-player and multiplayer game modes that can be enjoyed in both local and online play. The single-player story mode and all three of the multiplayer game modes do have similar gameplay mechanics with different goals that separate them from one another. If you're a fan of the Bomberman series, you'll definitely know what to expect with characters that can set items down or push them towards enemies to do damage and then take them out. You also have special items that you can use as well, and this just might be the hidden gem that you're looking for. Plus, right now it's on sale at a brand new low, marked down 85% to just $2.24, and the deal ends on the 14th. Vampire Survivors is finally here on the Switch, the game that spawned an entire genre of knockoffs, spin-offs, rip-offs, and even a few great alternatives. The real thing is finally coming to the Switch on the 17th. Now, for those that haven't had a chance to play it or one of the spin-offs, these games have a simple control scheme with auto attacks that happen on a timer or a cooldown, and your only job is to maneuver your character around and avoid taking damage. The trick, of course, is to do this while timing your attacks to do the most damage to as many enemies as you can, and collecting gems that they leave behind in order to level up your character. Now, as for the levels themselves, they're huge with secret items and upgrades that you can find, and it does have local multiplayer for up to 4 people as well. The game is incredibly addictive, but also challenging. Now, I wish you luck, my friends, if you jump in. Again, make sure to pick this one up. It's currently marked down 10%, allowing you to jump in for just $4.49, and the game releases on the 17th. Alright, we'll start with Doom 64, which is a port of the 1997 classic that gives players the action they crave while refining the graphics. They did away with the ultra dark setting as well, which means you can actually see where you're going, which does help navigating the maze-like maps a little bit, but it's still tough. Now, the soundtrack is absolutely top tier, and the creepy atmosphere created in the original does carry over as well. Honestly, it's a great way to jump back into the horror or perhaps play it for the first time, and you can pick it up in a bundle which includes a few other Doom games as well, or you can pick it up individually for just $1.99. It has a small download under 200 megabytes and the deal ends on the 16th. 8 Dragons is a retro-style arcade beat-em-up that draws heavy inspiration from the Renegade series. It offers local co-op for up to 8 players and has a download around 540 megabytes, but the cool part is that each playable character has their own story to tell, with unique storylines that sort of intertwine together, giving the game more replay value. Plus, the game has multiple difficulty settings, which makes it more accessible for more people. On top of all of that, our buddy Snowly did some of the music, and he worked on the sequel as well. And right now you can pick up 8 Dragons for just $1.99, marked down 75% and matching an all-time low until the 16th. Up next we have Elli, which is a single-player 3D platform adventure game with a download around 750 megabytes, and it offers roughly 5 to 10 hours of main story gameplay. It has gorgeous graphics here on the Switch, and the platforming is never too overly complicated, just enough to satisfy the player and keep them trying when they fail. It does also have a simple control scheme that's easy for gamers of any age to jump in, and there's basically no penalty for death either, so even if you struggle at first, just keep going and you'll definitely get there. There are some pretty cool environments with fun puzzles to work through, and overall I'd say it's another great pickup if you can get it on sale, and right now it's just $199, marked down 75%, and the deal ends on the 20th. Max in the Book of Chaos is a 2D arcade shooter. Now sadly there's no co-op, but it does offer a ton of replay value, and the download is under 400 megabytes. Now in this one we kind of find ourselves in the wrong place at the wrong time, and an ancient evil has awakened within the castle that just happens to be doubling as our summer school. This brings a ton of monsters into our world, and we have to blast our way through them, with each level being a single screen and only one goal being to live long enough while saving the captured students. There are boss battles as well, which are a lot of fun, and overall the game gives you 3 worlds with 21 levels, upgrades, and perks. It is tough, so you may have to lower the difficulty to get through to the end, and right now it's on sale for just $199, with the deal ending on the 16th. Up next we have OkunoKA Madness, which is a single-player arcade platformer with over 100 awesome and challenging levels. Now the game has a download around 2 gigs and should give dozens of hours of gameplay due to the arcade nature and of course the difficulty of the game. It's another one that encourages speedrunning with options that you can change in the menu, and sees players breezing through the stages and taking on some pretty cool bosses along the way. You also have unlockable characters, each with their own movesets. It's a pretty wild game, and right now you can pick it up for just $199, marked down 75%, and the deal ends on the 24th. Steamworld Dig is a single-player action platformer with a small download around 130 megabytes, and it offers about 6 to 8 hours of gameplay on average. Now it's a fun game that plays out a lot like a Metroidvania, and rather than making your way up through the standard platforming that you would normally find, this game kinda has you digging underground, searching for riches and hidden secrets, and of course taking on any of the enemies that you find along the way. I would highly recommend jumping into the game and then checking out the sequel as well, but right now part 1 is just $199, marked down 80% and matching an all-time low until the 18th. Alright, we'll start with Death Tales, which is a 2D action platformer that offers local co-op for 2 players, and it has a download around 800 megabytes with a story that should last a couple of hours. Now the game offers more than 30 awesome levels, quests, and unlockable upgrades, and a fun skill-based combat system as well. Like with many games in the genre, it has a Souls-like system, which you can use to buy upgrades from a local vendor, and it becomes more important later in the game. Right now you can pick up Death Tales for just $199, marked down 80% until the 16th. Elden: Path of the Forgotten is a top-down retro-themed adventure game where they really don't hold your hand at all, and it gives you total freedom to kind of explore and solve mysteries on your own. The combat and movement feel really retro and do shine in boss battles, but I have to mention that it's an adventure where you really are solo. There aren't even NPCs to talk to, so the entire thing is up to you to figure out. If you're into that though, it's on sale right now for just $199, marked down 88%, and the deal ends on the 13th. You need a little over 1 gig for the install. Emma Lost in Memories is a single-player puzzle platformer with a bit of a twist thrown in. You see, at the start of every level, you're always on a timer, the walls and platforms begin to disappear, so you have to think and act quickly, otherwise it's a long fall to starting over. Now it can be completed in about 3 to 5 hours, and it has a download around 200 megabytes. Another thing to keep in mind is that your character runs automatically at a fixed speed, so that becomes part of the challenge, and after you've completed the levels, you can then revisit them to play the memory chest mode as well. There's definitely a lot to like here as long as you don't mind auto runners. Emma Lost in Memories can be picked up for just $199, marked down 75%, and the deal ends again on the 16th. Up next we have Inside, which is a single-player puzzle-style adventure game. The story should last maybe 3 or 4 hours, and this is absolutely an amazing game. Now you start just like many other games in this genre, alone and with no rhyme or reason as to why you're in your current situation, and then you just kind of go from there. The atmosphere created is incredible, and this is definitely a must-play game at just $199, marked down 90% and matching an all-time low until the 20th. You'll need about 1.5 gigs for the install. Kave Adventure is a really cool side-scrolling platformer with a special gimmick in that you have a jetpack you can use to fly around the stages as another form of movement in addition to the normal jumping that you typically find. The controls feel great, the combat is fun, and of course getting to fly around does add a bit of excitement into the mix as well. There are more than 35 levels that should take roughly 5 hours to work your way through, and right now it's on sale for just $199, marked down 90% until the 13th, and the download is a little over 3 gigs. Up next we have Little Bug, which is a single-player puzzle platformer with a roughly 4-hour story and a download just under 700 megabytes. Now the game does a great job at creating a uniquely strange world and gives us 2 different playable characters with a really cool physics system that allows you to swing around through the different stages. It also encourages exploration with hidden secrets and bonus levels that you can find as well. Right now it's on sale for just $199, marked down 85% and matching an all-time low, again until the 20th. Micetopia is a single-player 2D action platformer with a roughly 4-hour story, and it has a small download around 50 megabytes. Now at its core, it's a bite-sized Metroidvania with a great chiptune soundtrack and gorgeous pixelated graphics. The story follows a brave young mouse on a valiant quest to save a princess and defeat an evil mage. You have additional side quests, environmental puzzles, tons of NPCs that you can talk to, and of course those sweet boss battles, plus the game is loaded with secrets to find as well. It's another great pickup at just $199, marked down 60%, and the deal ends on the 16th. Up next we have Reknum, which is a one-player retro-style action platformer with a download around 140 megabytes, and this game along with others in the series are some of the tougher platformers that I've played in recent years. Now this is mainly due to the instant death that can happen from different traps that you'll find scattered around each level. You can take a bit of damage from regular enemies, but there's no checkpoint, so you'll want to be really careful, or it's back to the start every time. The graphics and audio design fit really well here with the gameplay, and the combat is very fun, even if a bit simple, which is okay when the game is difficult enough as it is. Fans of old school difficulty will feel right at home though, and right now you can pick it up for just $199, marked down into the 16th. Swords and Bones 2 is a single-player action platformer with light RPG elements added in, and it offers players 50 levels that of course increase in difficulty and can really challenge your skills by the end. The download is under 100 megabytes, and for the sequel they went with the 16-bit graphical style inspired by games from the 80s and 90s. Luckily this time around the game does have a bit more depth to each of these mechanics, and you have the ability to edit your loadout before each level, which is always nice. It even offers multiple endings, and right now you can pick it up at a brand new low of just $199, marked down 80%, and the deal ends on the 14th. Next we have Tiny Lands, which is a relaxing single-player game that takes a simple premise such as spotting the difference between 2 different pictures, and then kind of brings it to life with these tiny dioramas, each with a list of random things for players to find and point out as you move through each little world. Now the music is fantastic, and there are actually a lot of different levels with different themes. It's a really relaxing game for right before bed, and right now it's on sale for just $199, marked down 67% and matching an all-time low until the 24th. You'll need about 1 gig for the download. Alright, we'll start with 9 Monkeys of Shaolin, which is a cooperative beat 'em up with both local and online play for 2 people at a time. It has a 4 gig download and offers about 5 to 10 hours of gameplay. Now the game has more than 20 awesome levels to punch and kick your way through, and it has unlockable buffs, items, and even new fighting styles as well. It has a gorgeous presentation here on the Switch and controls great. Right now it's on sale for just $299, marked down 85%, with the deal ending on the 17th, bringing it to a brand new low. Ash of God's Redemption is a single-player strategy RPG with a story presented more like a graphic novel really than anything else. The combat is something akin to games like Final Fantasy Tactics with grid-based movement and turn-based attacks, and it offers more than 20 hours of gameplay on average, with a download around 4.3 gigs. Now during the story you'll play as 3 different protagonists, with each fighting their own version of the Reaping, which threatens to wipe out all of mankind. This is another game that gives tons of content to the player, and you can get it at a brand new low of just $299, marked down 85% with the deal ending on August 17th. Cloud Gardens is a relaxing 3D puzzle game that offers the player a unique experience not found in many other indie games. There really isn't much of a main story, but you're given a path to follow through each of the individual puzzles or environments, and there is a creative mode that allows you to decorate and have some fun on your own time. Now your goal is to solve each puzzle while growing plants and setting up items around them in order to help them grow. The soundtrack is incredibly relaxing, and it's the perfect game to play before bed. There are more than 50 levels, and the download comes in at around 630 megabytes, and right now you can pick it up at a new low of just $4.99, marked down 70% until the 30th. Next we have Dice Legacy, which is a single-player survival city builder with dice-based combat and a story that starts off with our main characters finding themselves shipwrecked on the shore of a new island. You'll have to build up your town and gather resources while defending the base on occasion. You can also roll the dice that you've gathered, and each time that you do so, you'll have a set of abilities you can perform. Now the game has different seasons and even different campaigns or scenarios that you can play through. On top of that, each playthrough is randomized to some extent, so there's a ton of content on offer for you to enjoy. Right now you can pick it up for just $3.74, marked down until the 17th, and the download is around 1.7 gigs. Fracter is a single-player isometric adventure title where we find ourselves trapped within a mysterious labyrinth full of puzzles and monsters that you'll have to avoid or run from if you are detected. Now the puzzles aren't too challenging for the most part, but there are a few that might hold you up for a few minutes. The visual design matched with the sound cues that the game gives you are great here on the console, and while it did originate on mobile platforms, it was nice to play here with a physical controller. Overall, it's an enjoyable game that should last maybe 2 or 3 hours. It has a download around 600 megabytes, and right now you can pick it up at a new low of just $2.14, marked down nearly 70%, and the deal ends on the 16th. Islanders is a single-player strategy game where we travel to different islands and try to build the best cities that we can, using the resources that we find on each to maximize the points that we can earn. Now the islands are procedurally generated to help with replay value, and what I really enjoy about the game is that placement of each structure is really something that should be planned out, as you need to score enough points in order to continue and progress through to the next one. On top of that, if you do happen to lose, you'll be sent all the way back to the beginning to start over. It's not that it's really all that tough, honestly, but by the end of the game it can pose a bit of a challenge for some, and right now you can pick it up for just $2.50, marked down to half price with the deal ending on the 30th, bringing it to a new low, and you'll need about 230 megabytes for the install. Next we have Lost in Play, which is a point-and-click puzzle-style adventure game where we play as two siblings lost in their imagination, searching for a way home. It has a download around 1.5 gigs and should take roughly 2 to 4 hours to work your way through. Now it is a family-friendly title for the most part. The gameplay and puzzles are pretty simple, and even if you do get stuck, there are hints offered throughout, and of course it does have that cartoonish art design. The mini puzzles are fun, and there are a bunch of different types to keep it feeling fresh, and while the story isn't all that complex, it does offer enough to keep you engaged all the way through until the end. Right now you can pick it up for just $4.99, marked down 75%, and the deal ends on the 16th, again bringing it to a new low. Up next we have Redeemer, the Enhanced Edition, which is a top-down brawler with a download around 3.6 gigs, and it offers local co-op for 2 players. Now the main story should take roughly 7 to 8 hours to complete, and it does feature some incredibly brutal combat, offering a variety of cool melee and ranged weapons, plus it has those cool executions that you can pull off as well. The story is compelling and the controls feel great here, and the ability to play with a friend is always a bonus. Right now you can pick up Redeemer, the Enhanced Edition at a new low of just $2.24, marked down 85% until the 17th. Sonar Beat is a new single-player music-based puzzle game with a download around 560 megabytes. Now I know you're watching the screen right now, but let me tell you, I am terrible at this one. It's addictive and fun, but it's so tough to get the timing down. It does let you calibrate before each round, but even with that, it's going to take some time to get the hang of it. That's just how it was, at least for me. The way it plays is the radar circles around revealing enemies, and you just have to make sure that you take them all out without taking too many hits, and of course the round ends when the song is over. Like I said, it's a cool game, but be prepared for a bit of a learning curve, and right now you can pick it up for just $2.24, marked down 10% with the deal ending on the 17th. Sublevel 0 Redux is probably my favorite pick for this list. It's a one-player space shooter roguelike with a ton of content to keep you coming back, and the download comes in just over 700 megabytes. Now the game puts us in the cockpit of a futuristic gunship and lets us blast our way through zero-gravity levels that are procedurally generated. You have weapon upgrades and other cool items that you can find as well, and this version includes all of the bonus content packaged in for one low price. Right now you can pick it up for just $1.99, marked down nearly 90%, and the deal ends on the 30th. Again, this is definitely a hidden gem. Alright folks, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and let me know down below if you plan to pick anything up this weekend. Take care everyone, thanks for watching.